everybody, so welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name's Amelia and I'm a second year medical student. So a quick backing story of my journey into medicine. I applied to medical school in 2021. I got rejected from all 4 medical schools. So I took a gap year and I reapplied to medical school and I got rejected from 3 and I got accepted to my last one, my 4th one. So I've just finished my first year at medical school. I passed all my exams and I'm going into my 2nd year in September, so in a couple of weeks. So it's very exciting. But if we backtrack to 2 years ago when I was sitting the UCAT and I was in that position and I didn't necessarily get the score I wanted, this video is going to be about 5 things I wish I knew when I failed the UCAT. So with that said, let's get straight into the video. So number 1 is the score you get does not define your journey into medical school. If you haven't done as well as you'd hoped, you're probably feeling very down and all these negative emotions. I've failed, I'm never going to make it. But let me tell you, this score does not define your journey into medical school. There's so many parts to the application process and everyone struggles with different parts. If the UCAT is the part you struggle with, that is so normal. It is such a difficult exam. It really is a difficult exam. And if you've not done as well as you'd hoped, it is absolutely fine. It does not define whether you are going to get into medical school. I didn't particularly get a high score and I still got in. I just really want you to take that from this video because it is so soul destroying when you really want something and you don't do as well as you'd hoped, and it just seems at that point like there's no way forward and it's like it's over. Let me tell you, it is not over. It's only just starting. I just really want you to understand that you can still get into medicine with a low UCAT score. Shock, horror, I know, because at this moment in time you're probably feeling like there's no chance on earth, but you can. So this brings me on to my second point, which is to work to your advantage. So I've just rambled on about how it's not the end of the world if you don't get a high score, but how do you actually put that into practice to still get into medical school regardless? That is a fantastic question because I've really been focusing in on applying to medical school because it is such a difficult thing that a lot of people struggle with. So on my channel currently I've got a lot of videos about the different parts to applying to medicine. I've got one about the UCAT in particular, so take a look at that if you are struggling with the UCAT section of the application process currently. I talk a lot on my channel about working to your advantage because it's so important in medical school. Obviously the application to medical school is made up of multiple different parts. You need to focus on your strengths and apply to medical schools that look at those things more. Exactly the same with the UCAT, exactly the same with any part of the application, whether it's your personal statement, work experience, your grades. You need to focus on your strengths and really push your strengths towards the medical schools. For example, let's go with the UCAT theme because that's what this video is about. If you get a lower UCAT score, apply to medical schools that do not weight your UCAT highly. The sad thing is, if you apply to a medical school that has a minimum threshold for the UCAT and you don't meet that minimum threshold, they will not look at any more of your application, and you really want to avoid that. You want them to see everything you've been up to and everything you've been working towards in this journey to applying to medical school. One mistake that a lot of people make is limiting their choices when applying to medical school. There's no point applying to the medical schools that you really want to go to if you've not got a chance of getting into them. It took me 2 years and 8 applications to 8 different medical schools to get 1 acceptance. That's not the same for everybody. Everyone has different and unique journeys. You do not want to limit your choices because if you're only applying to 2 medical schools that you have a chance at, for example, it's going to take you longer. With that being said, you do still have to go to places that you want to go to, obviously. Don't completely rule them out, but it's really important to kind of just find a common ground between where you want to go and where you're likely to get into. The next thing is number 3, which is to look at the bigger picture. Let me give an example using the scores that I got. Oh my god, I'm exposing myself. Okay, so the first year I applied, which was 2021, I got 2,450. The second year I applied, I got 2,550. Obviously, they're quite close together scores. So let's just make up a number of 2,500 being the average for both years. Can't remember what off the top of my head the average was, but let's just say that that was not the average, but we're just gonna say that for this example. Look at me, I got a below average score the first year I did the UCAT, which would be classed as a bad score. Why do you take the UCAT? You don't take it for fun, you don't take it to compete against your friends or people you know, you take it to get into medicine. I got a bad score the first time I applied, and I still got into medicine. If I had still achieved my place in medical school regardless of the score I got, does that mean I failed the UCAT? No, it doesn't, because I still got my place in medical school regardless of the score I got, and that is ultimately why you are taking the UCAT. So just remember to look at the bigger picture. No bad score is a bad score if you achieve what you need to do anyway. Don't get too bogged down on your score. Keep in mind the bigger picture and the ultimate goal, which is getting into medical school. So the next one is a tip if you are planning on resitting the UCAT at some point or improving your score in some way. Number 4 is technique is more important than practice. Okay, this is a bit of a controversial one because everyone says practice, 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 but hear me out before you judge. Let's use an example of verbal reasoning. So if you don't know what verbal reasoning is, it's a 300 to 400 word passage that is testing your ability to be able to scan, read and pick out the most important and the key pieces of information and answer the question you're being asked accordingly and obviously correctly. So if you sat down and did a verbal reasoning question and read word for word the 300 to 400 word passage, you might get the answer right, but you wouldn't get enough answers correct in the time that you're being tested, because it's about speed and scanning, being able to pick out key information quickly. You could keep practicing and keep practicing, because your technique is all off, you're not going to improve your score. So it's really important to focus on which subsection it's testing and make sure you really focus on improving your technique for the subsection before you start practicing and really getting nitty gritty with the timing and being quick. You do need to get the answer right, you do need to practice, but it's really important to get your technique really nailed down first. The last tip I wish I knew after not doing as well as I wanted to in the UCAT, and this might be my favourite tip: the score does not define you as a doctor. Is this score going to matter in 5 years' time? It really will not. Once you've gotten in your place in medical school, there's going to be much bigger scores that matter. It does not define how good you're going to do as a medical student or how good of a doctor you're going to be. I did get a lower score than the UK average, and this year I passed my medical school exams first time and I was very, very pleased with the score I got. So despite getting a lower UCAT score than other medical students, I still did very well in my exams and I was still very pleased with how I did in my exams. So it is not a limiting factor and it's not going to define how good of a medical student you're going to be, how good you're going to do in your exams and how good of a doctor you're going to be. Once you've got into medical school, I promise you that score does not matter at all, does not matter. So that is the end of this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it and I really hope I've given you some valuable tips and advice on the UCAT. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. If you have enjoyed this video, I would really love it if you would like and comment down below and subscribe to my channel. Thank you once again for watching, I really hope you've enjoyed and I'll see you soon.